Okay, just finishing off that last one. This should be your guys' final answer. 16x to the fourth minus 96x cubed plus 216x squared minus 216x plus 81. Okay, you've got, I believe, 4 problems like this, maybe 6 problems like this on your homework where you guys need to expand. This is definitely a college algebra test. If you guys have questions on it, if you're making mistakes, I will tell you guys this. If you're making mistakes, you got to show these 2 steps so we can figure out where your mistake is. But like I said, just send me a picture of it. Okay, if you guys send me a picture, I can definitely help you guys with those. All right, so the next thing, there is something called the binomial theorem. Okay, and the binomial theorem basically uses Pascal's triangle. Okay, you've got a plus b to the n power equals the summation where r starts at 0 and finishes at n, and it's n choosing r times a to the n minus r times b to the r power. Okay. My plan was to actually teach you guys what all this meant this year, but you know, everything that happened, that hasn't worked. So instead, we're going to talk about the binomial theorem, okay? But we're only going to use the binomial theorem to find a specific term. So since I'm only looking for one term, this thing here is called a summation. We don't need it, okay? We don't need this summation to find one specific term, which is what we're going to do with it. So you guys can mark that out. What we do need, and remember your guys' tests and stuff is open books. So you're going to have this here, this formula here for you. What you do need is your binomial, and we need to know what this is here. Okay? So the things that you guys need to pay attention to is a. Well, that's the first term. Oh, and there's an a over here in this formula. So whatever is here is going to have to get plugged in over here in this formula. Okay, cool. B. Oh, B. So whatever's right here in this formula needs to get plugged in over here. Okay, all right, easy enough. N. Oh, N. And an N. Okay. So whatever this exponent is has to get plugged in to these 2 spots here. Now, it looks like there's 2 more variables. This is not a variable. That C is not a variable. That is called a combination. Combination. Okay? Combination is something that we use in statistics a lot. There's a button on your calculator that will allow you guys to calculate what a combination is. There is a big long formula. I believe the formula is n factorial over r factorial times n minus r factorial. So it's kind of a whole big thing there. You're not going to need to do anything with that. I will show you guys how to use that button on your calculator to be able to do it. But I just wanted to show you guys what that is there. Then the one variable that we do have left over, that variable is an r. Okay? And r is what term we are looking for. But there's a catch. It's what term you're looking for minus 1. Why do we take minus 1? Well, if you guys remember back when we did our Pascal's triangle, that first video we did, whoops, too far back. Remember, we have to take it minus 1 because row 1 is actually a 0. Row 2 is actually a 1. Row 3 is actually a 2. Okay? So the reason that we have to take that minus 1 is because when we are dealing with our Pascal's triangle, we started with row 0. Okay? So r is going to be what term you're looking for, minus 1. Okay? All right. So, starting out, what is the third term of x minus 4 to the 7th? Okay? The first thing you guys need to do is you need to recall our binomial theorem. That was a plus b to the nth power. Okay? And what that equaled was n choosing r, a to the n minus r, b to the r power. Okay? So the first thing that I want you guys to notice, what's my a? Well, my a is an x. So there needs to be an x in that spot there. What is my b? My b is a -4. So there needs to be a -4 in that spot there. What is my n? My n is a 7. So there needs to be a 7 in those spots there. Okay? So when I go through and I fill this thing in, I'm going to have a big C. Remember, the big C is not an or is not a variable. That is telling us that that's a combination. So that's going to be a 7 in there for the n. We don't know what the r is. That's fine. Then my a value. Well, we said our a value was an x. And that's going to be an x to the n. What's our n value? 7 minus r. We don't know what our r value is. Then we've got our b, which our b value was a -4. And we've got a -4 to the r power. Okay? So right now what I did was I looked at my formula here and I plugged in my n, a, and my b. Okay? Now, our r value is what term we're looking for, -1. So what term am I looking for? Well, I am looking for my third term, but remember I have to go third term -1. Okay? So my r value is 2. Again, why do we have to do -1? Because if we remember, the first row in our Pascal's triangle was to the 0 power. So really row 1 is a 0. Row 2 was a 1. So we have to take that 1 to figure out. So your r value that you found, your r value will be a 2. Okay? Now, let's talk about this combination thing here. Okay? How's this combination thing going to work? Okay, if you guys are still using the Desmos scientific calculator, okay, if I can get clicked out of this, okay, you can go to Google. Remember, we went to Google, you Googled scientific calculator, okay, that'll work. When you get to your calculator, or if you have it on your phone, when you get to your phone, there should be a functions tab, and when you click on your functions, you'll see an NCR, okay? If you guys are using a calculator that looks like mine, okay, or you're using a calculator, I think Haley had one of those calculators, and Eliza maybe had one of those calculators, okay, the function's still going to be the same. Up in the top part of your calculator, you guys need to find the button that says PRB, okay? There's a button on your calculator. I just looked at mine. Mine is a lowercase p, so PRB, okay? That PRB stands for probability. Okay, is what that PRB stands for. And that's where combinations are primarily used. Okay, when you click on that probability button, you should see a list, and it should be NPR, NCR, and then there's usually a factorial button on there. Okay, if you have one of the older ones, it'll be up top. If you have one of the ones like mine, they kind of list them down. Okay, this is the button that we need to use. We need to use the N choosing R. Okay, so your calculators have this function, and if they don't, get online and use this Desmos scientific calculator. Now, when I click on this, okay, this one's different. When I click on this, it's NCR. Our N comes first. So I'm going to do a 7. Wait. Okay, sorry, I had to play around with that for a little bit before I was ready. Okay, so if I click, and this is, listen, this is important, guys. You're only going to do your NCR. You're only going to do this if you are using this Desmos calculator. When you click the NCR button, it's going to pop up. 7 came first. That was our N. So you're going to put in a 7, and you're going to put a top comma, and then you're going to put up a 2. Okay? So this right here, NCR 7, 2, is the same thing as 7 choosing 2 like this here. Okay, so if you're using the Desmos calculator, this is this here. Okay, and we can see, whoops, we can see that that equals 21. Okay, so I now know when I do this here, 7 choosing 2, that right there equals 21. Okay, now, if you're using one of the calculators, the first thing you're going to do when you're using one of the calculators is you're going to need to enter in the number 7. Before you hit the PRB button, enter in the number 7. Then use your PRB button, and it'll pop up with this. Then you put the 2 on the end. This is what it'll look like if you're using one of the calculators that I have or one of the older versions of that calculator. It'll look like this. You'll do 7, hit the PRB, choose the NCR, and then press the 2. Okay, again, if you guys need help with that, just shoot me an email and I can help you guys with that. But 7 choosing 2, that's going to equal 21. Okay, next, I've got an x in here, and that's an x to the 7 minus 2 power. What's 7 minus 2? Well, that'd be 5, x to the 5th power. And then I've got a negative 4 squared. Negative 4 squared is going to give me a 16. Okay? So that's really a 21 times x to the 5th times 16. So I just need to finish this off. What's 21 times 16? 21 times 16 gives me 336 x to the 5th. Okay? So instead of having to do the whole Pascal's triangle to figure this out and then find the third term, we can use our binomial theorem to be able to find a specific term. Okay, let's do one more example. Okay, it says find the 5th term of 3x minus 2 to the 9th. Again, you don't want to have to write out that whole thing to the 9th power. That's a lot. Okay, so we're going to recall our binomial theorem. A plus b to the n power. That gives me n choosing r, a to the n minus r, b to the r. Okay. A is 3x. Negative 2 is my b. My n is a 9. Our r value, r is going to equal what term we're looking for? Minus 1. So my r value is a 4. Okay. So when I go to plug this in, I've got n, which is 9, choosing r, which is 4, okay, times my a value is 3x to the n, which would be 9, minus r, which is 4, and then my b value is a negative 2 to the r power, which is a 4. Okay. I need to go through. I'm going to use my calculator to figure out what 9 choosing 4 is. So I'm going to hit my NCR button here. Remember, you need to enter the 9 first if you're using a calculator. N choosing 4. Okay, that equals 126. So 9 choosing 4 is 126. Okay, 3x to the 5th power. Negative 2 to the 4th, that is going to be a positive 16. I think I made a mistake on the last one. I went back and checked. I did not make a mistake on the last one, so thank goodness. Okay, so now I've got, before I want to multiply everything, I've got 126. Remember that 5 has to go to the 3 and to the x. So 3 to the 5th power gives me 243. X to the 5th power is just x to the 5th times 16. Okay, I'm just going to multiply all those together. So this is going to be a big number, 126 times 243 times 16. That gives me 489,888 x to the 5th. And that is going to be the 5th term. So kind of neat. Okay. I know that these are kind of confusing, guys. What I would suggest you guys doing is when you're doing your homework, if you don't feel like you quite have the hang of it, have the video and watch me put a problem on the video and then pause it and you recreate that step for that problem. Try and watch the video as you're doing these. That'll help you guys when we work through these. We definitely want to know how to do these because this is going to be college algebra. In the past, it's been a big thing that we've went over in our Algebra 2, so I wanted to make sure I definitely hit it for you guys. Okay.